Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. As the December chill starts to set in, I'm filled with thoughts of holiday cheer, and I want to share it the only way I know how. Explaining pieces of cardboard and how they interact within the framework of the silly little rules that we've made up for them. So get ready for some Christmassy leaning themes because I don't really have a grasp on the other holidays. I've kind of just been marinated in Christmas my entire life. And also I don't think they include very many other holiday celebrations in this game, so, there's that. But what will we begin this special month with? Well, I know what I love seeing most this time of year: presents! I also enjoy the excuse to spend time with family and to practice the spirit of charity and generosity that mankind should strive to embody, but hey, I'm not made of stone here. When I see the new shiny thing, I get happy about it. So we're going to start by looking at any theme that could fit the bill, and toys are a shoo-in. And what could be a better subject than one of the oldest, most fondly remembered of all toys? Dolls. But not sha-dolls, doll monsters. Premiering in the July 2013 side set, Number Hunters, these cards were used by Cologne from the YGO Zexal manga, a former doll given a soul by Dr. Faker, one of the big Zexal villains. This does mean she comes into conflict with Yuma as a number hunter herself, but in classic Yu-Gi-Oh fashion, an enemy is just a friend waiting for someone to listen to their tragic backstory. Not that I would know anything about that one, watch Dimension Chasers. But don't let her cutesy appearance fool you. Her fluffy friends hide a darker secret. So before this script sounds a bit too much like I'm copying from the Fluffle and Frightful video, let's dig through the toy chest to see what crafty creatures lie within. It's time for Doll Monsters Explained. Today's episode is brought to you by my lovely patrons, as well as the wonderful people over at Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales and save 5% on your order by using coupon code GoldenNova at checkout. So what's the deal with doll monsters? Well, the important part to keep in mind is that if you're searching doll monsters in your search engine, you're gonna see very few monsters. They're tied together more by effects and stats rather than by name, the effect being that they interact with normal monsters with either 0 attack, 0 defense, or both, leveraging them into powerful Xyz monsters. The first part is gonna be pretty quick. Doll Monster Bear Bear is a level 4 Wind Beast monster with 0 attack and defense, and Doll Monster Miss Madchen is a level 4 Light Fairy monster with 0 attack and defense, both of whom have flavor text that are presumably quotes from the monsters themselves. Even if we get damaged, it's okay. Grandpa Tomato can patch us up. Welcome to our house. Here I live with Cologne, Grandpa Tomato, and all the other dolls. These clue us into some of the other cards that will be relevant to the theme, but like I said previously, we don't quite care about the names, it's all about the stats. And for our purposes, level 4 normal monsters that have a donut in either of their stats are key. On the defensive side, we've got Soul Tiger and Gem Knight Sapphire. But you're probably more concerned about the ones that can go on the offensive, and we've got a ton of level 4 monsters with 2000 attack that have 0 defense in an attempt to balance things out. Those monsters are Gunkan Suship Shari, Jongler Ghoul Illusionist, Leotron, Megalo Smasher X, Mech Knight Avram, Mystery Shell Dragon, Phantom Griffin, Zombino, and probably the most important, Shiny Black Sea Squatter. So suffice it to say, we've got a lot of great aggro options, on top of having access to all the normal monster support under the sun. This does distance us from the whole doll theming, but that can be easily solved with a little makeshift campaign. Folks, if there was ever a time for me to broach copyright law and push for the Tri-Horned Dragon plushie, it's now. Box of Friends is a level 1 light machine monster with 0 attack and defense, and if this card is destroyed and sent to the grave, you can special summon 2 normal monsters with 0 attack or defense and different names from each other from your deck in defense position, but they can't be used as synchro material. Also, they're destroyed during the next end phase. So as a way to get your monsters into rotation, this is a great way to do so. And on top of having our own way to trigger it, we've got a lot of off-theme options that are pretty fantastic that we'll go into during our tech pick section. It may also incentivize us to play some of the good defensive monsters we mentioned previously, because we're forced to summon those in defense position. If they trigger this during your opponent's battle phase, it doesn't matter how big Avram's attack stat is, the only thing you'll be checking out is his imminent demise. Now, blowing up your box of friends may seem bad, but keep in mind, you're destroying the box of friends. The friends themselves, totally unharmed. It's basically just like opening up a present if you ignore all the bits of shrapnel and burn scars. Those are just cosmetic. Grandpa Demeto is a level 1 Dark Spellcaster monster with 0 attack and defense, and you can detach a material from a Princess Cologne that you control to special summon up to 2 normal monsters with 0 attack or defense from your grave, each as a level 8 Dark monster in defense position. If an Xyz monster you control activates its effects by detaching a normal monster, you can target an Xyz monster and 1 monster your opponent controls to destroy that opponent's monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that Xyz monster's rank times 300. Okay, so get the setup on this and you've got yourselves a pretty goated support monster. Princess Cologne as an Xyz monster we'll encounter in just a bit, and because we're using these kinds of 0-statted monsters, we'll have quite a few of them engraved to pull from. Now, while the monsters become Dark attribute, we aren't presented with any kind of lock. If anything, this helps us get into any rank 8 monster that requires Dark monsters as material, though there is currently only a single monster that actually cares about that, but it's better than no help whatsoever, and that's on top of all the rank 8s we already have access to anyway. Though you'll want to focus on the ones whose effect you can leverage immediately because of Demeto's last effect. It goes through a lot of words to explain the burn part, but if you're using the rank 8 that you just made, you're dealing 2,400 points of damage to your opponent. It's not a game-winning amount of damage, mind you, but as part of a larger game plan, only having to levy 5,600 more points of damage really does help close the gap. And if that rank 8 is worth its salt, it'll be doing a fair amount of damage itself on top of it. Turns out, all it takes to make your opponent dead is a little bit of needle and thread. I'm starting to think I should have covered this for Halloween. Zombow is a level 2 Dark Zombie monster with 1,000 attack and defense, and when this card declares an attack, it gains 500 attack. If this card is destroyed and sent to the grave, you can special summon 1 level 1 monster with 0 attack and defense from your deck. Its effects are negated and is destroyed during your next end phase. So this means the interaction is pretty specific here. This gets destroyed while on the field, you summon out Box of Friends, and that card either gets destroyed because it's just standing in the way of your opponent, or by the delayed destruction effect of Zombow. And then you get those 2 normal monsters from the destruction of Box of Friends because its effect is not negated while in the grave. But that's not the only thing that you can get with this. True, the effect being negated does rule out a lot of options, but you can also summon Absolute King Batjack to extend your normal trap card plays, 4-Mud Skipper to get you a free Cyber Search, or Glow Up Bloom to set up some sweet zombie plays. But really, just grab Box of Friends here. It only knows how to fetch that one card, and it's what it's good at. Or better yet, don't blow this dog up in the first place. I know it's already dead, but it's more like the principle of the matter. Princess Cologne is a rank 4 Light Fairy Xyz monster with 500 attack and 2,200 defense, requiring any 2 level 4 monsters as material. When this card is Xyz summoned, you can target 1 Box of Friends in your grave and special summon it. And if you control another monster, your opponent's monsters can't attack this card for attacks, nor can they target it with card effects. If any number of face-up normal monsters you control are destroyed by a battle or card effect and sent to the grave, you can detach a material from this card to special summon a normal monster from your deck or grave in defense position. Now, this time, it doesn't have any restriction outside of the monster being a vanilla, so this could summon any number of huge threats, even the prototypical level 8 normal monster, Blue Eyes White Dragon, though we're probably more likely to just summon one of the many normal monsters we're already playing to enable the engine. I do like how it gets back the Box of Friends you presumably used to set this all up, and because it redirects attacks away from itself while you have another monster, that's a great way to throw a lot of obstacles in your opponent's way, or set yourself up for even more Xyz summoning. But the primary usage for this, at least nowadays, is in conjunction with Grandpa Demeto to get you a rank 8 monster, which is just fine by me. Well, I guess I also wish this actually summoned out Demeto, but we wouldn't get Gramps until long after we had the first wave of doll monster support. Heck, at this point it wasn't even doll monsters, it was just Box, Bow Wow, and Cologne. We sure have come a long way since then. I'm surprised she hasn't been promoted to Queen Cologne in the meantime. Would have had a lot better alliteration too. Number 22, Zombiestein is a rank 8 Dark Zombie Xyz monster with 4,500 attack and 1,000 defense, requiring 2 level 8 Dark monsters as material. See, I told you we'd be getting to this. It must be Xyz summoned, and once per turn as a quick effect, you can detach a material from this card and send a card from your hand to the grave. Then, target a face-up card your opponent controls. Change this card to defense position, and if you do, negate the selected card's effect until the end of this turn. That's right, this is the big payoff for using Demeto's effect, and boy howdy is this one big payoff. 4,500 attack is going to go a long ways towards winning the game after that burn, and you'll be in a good position to do so since Tomato just blew up a card for you. But on top of having a huge body, it also has some negation, though it is at a huge cost. It's very flexible in what it can negate, even hitting the mighty evenly matched, but by moving to defense position, you've turned it into a monster that can stand shoulder to shoulder with the gods themselves, into something that any deck with a halfway decently statted monster can run over. So when it comes to using that effect, be very careful about its applications. But the most important thing about this card isn't what's printed on it, but rather how it functions in the manga, as it's unable to attack female monsters. That's right, this card's biggest weakness is the female monster list. Guess that thing was good for something after all. Doll Happiness is a continuous spell card that, when activated, adds a Grandpa Tomato or Box of Friends from your deck to your hand. While you control Princess Cologne, your opponent's monsters cannot target monsters with 0 attack or defense with attacks. And once per turn, you can destroy a monster in your hand or field, and if you do, send a doll monster card from your deck to the grave. Also, you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except Xyz monsters. This basically makes for a 1-card Princess Cologne. Activate Happiness to put Box of Friends in your hand, then use the effect of Happiness to destroy the box that's in your hand. This not only will get a doll monster into your grave, a good reason to run at least a couple of them, it puts 2 more normal monsters onto the board. And there you go! Instant Princess Cologne. From there, you can normal summon Tomato if you have it, detach a material from Cologne, and you'll have the 2 normal monsters that you need to make that rank 8. Or, if you don't have Tomato in hand but you did have Box of Friends, you can instead search out the Tomato on activation, and then just do the playline as normal. I also like the attack protections for your little 0-sized monsters, especially because if you combine it with Cologne's effect, who you need to have on the field to get the continuous effect online anyway, means that your opponent basically can't attack at all. But keep in mind that while Doll Happiness can destroy Box of Friends in the hand and it'll trigger, Zombow Wow has to be destroyed while on the field, so don't get any wild ideas. Though, because it can destroy any monster in your hand, it can trigger a bunch of other themes too, like Cosmos, or Fire Kings, or even Yubel! Finding fun little synergies like this truly is the real joy of the holidays, don't you think? Dollhouse is a field spell card that lets you target a normal monster in your grave with 0 attack or defense, or if you control Princess Cologne, you can target 2 such monsters to special summon a monster from the deck with the same name as each target, as a level 6 dark monster. And when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can attach a Grandpa Tomato you control to a Princess Cologne you control as material, then end the battle phase. Hey, being able to shut off the battle phase, pretty spiffy stuff, especially when you're trying to keep a bunch of little goobers safe and Doll Happiness is no longer around to keep your opponent from bullying them. But we're once again seeing a motif of summoning monsters as dark attribute ones, as well as adjusting their level. But this time, you can't use the material to make Zombiestein. Heck, there's not even a single rank 6 monster in the game that needs to be made with dark monsters. So what gives here? Well, now is as good a time as any to mention that this is actually a reference to the effect of Grandpa Tomato from the manga, where it would take the parts of destroyed doll monsters, customize them, and bring them back good as new. Maybe even better. And if they didn't make the cut, they could always be re-customized. Now, Tomato had that much material to work with because the manga has so many more doll monsters in it, but we just have the 2, so we'll have to make do with those. Now, this would cause the levels of those customized monsters to increase, and thus, we get the level setting effect, with the dark attribute there to help us make Zombiestein, who requires dark monsters. And now, because of this, we can access even more powerful Xyz monsters, like Constellar Ptolemy M7, Evolzar Lars, and Goblin's Crazy Beast. It's not as flashy or useful of a card as Doll Happiness is, but it still helps shore up your resources and defenses to make the most of all those vanillas that you've got lying around. You could say it's quite the house of a card. So that's all the doll monster cards, but what do we do with them? Well, look, the rank 8 play is kind of all she wrote. If anything, this is just one of those decks that fits better into another theme to bolster them than being its own thing. So instead of seeing what we can play to help out doll monsters, let's take a look at some normal monster support that complements it, as well as the decks we can use it in. That way Princess Cologne can catch a little bit of the spotlight while riding another deck's coattails. For our normal monster support, we work well with a lot of the basics. Unexpected Die gets you any of your level 4 or lower normal monsters right onto the field as long as you have an empty monster lineup, and Painful Decision not only tutors filters those out, it also helps to fill the grave to set up for Demeto's effect. But the turbo version of this is advanced ritual art. Tech in some random level 4 or 8 ritual monsters, and you can fill your grave with normals while summoning a single powerful monster. Rescue Rabbit can get you the material for a rank 4 all its own, Link Spider can help to vent a bunch of normal monsters out of your hand, and you can get even more aggressive with that using Faustian Bargain, getting rid of an opponent's special summoned monster while getting your normal monsters out of your hand. Piercing the Darkness is also really silly, giving you some card draw and making your Xyz monsters even stronger. Doll Happiness may lock us into Xyz monsters, but there are a few monsters outside of that realm that work well with us. Using a fusion effect, we can make First of the Dragons, a monster that's almost impossible to get rid of using normal lines of play, insofar as monsters are concerned, and Defender of the Labyrinth also gives you a pretty heinous boost to all of your normal monsters. You like those 2000 attack level 4s? Well, congratulations, now they have 2500 attack. How about some additional archetypes? The newly released Primites are certainly worth consideration. We'll want to play a variety of types and attributes across our monsters, giving Imperial Dragon's banishing effect even more reach. And with the help of Drill Beam, Howl, and Lordly Load, getting normal monsters into rotation to use for your own game plan or as fodder for Imperial Dragon Summon is easy as pie. Even the new card, Another Barrel, is another foolish burial, so our graveyard setup is immaculate. Tennies do love their non-effect monsters, so being able to special summon a number of them to make for additional material while enabling their additional effects is pretty primo, but Chthana is probably the best, as it is a fellow level 4 monster, helping you to access your rank 4s. And we've got some wild Tenyi stuff coming up in Supreme Darkness. Turns out Mula Adhara is kinda cracked. I think our best example is Metal Foes. Not only is it a bunch of normal monsters, it also loves to destroy its own cards. Each scale pops a face-up card to set a Metal Foe spell or trap card, so while Box of Friends is on the field, you can crunch it, get your Metal Foe spell and trap card, then summon out the 2 monsters from Box of Friends. And get this, you can summon Metal Foe Stealing off of Box of Friends effect in case you want to pivot to fusion summoning that turn instead, getting monsters like Full Metal Foes Alcahest and Orichalc. But while Metal Foes may be the best example, Magic Key is easily my favorite. This is another theme that appreciates the usage of varied types and attributes among your normal monsters, especially when they're level 4. Heck, it's even got chances to use advanced ritual art because it has its own big ritual. We can use the monsters we summon off of Box of Friends to make Magic Key Spirit of Apartu instead of Cologne in case we need more extension, while Demeto can lead the way to summoning the Magic Key deity Eshthartu, giving you access to some absurd burn damage and removal. Now, when it comes to recommended Xyz monsters to run in this deck outside of the prescribed ones, I would be here all day. The rank 4 toolbox is one of the deepest and most useful card pools in the game's history, and almost every rank 8 monster in the game has something useful to do. The rank 6 pool, not so much, but for the love of God, be sure to remember to run Zeus. Without any restrictions on what we can actually make, this is a shoo-in for an after combat summon. And if you need help getting an actual attack through, if somehow a big 4500 attack monstrosity isn't doing it, number 23 Lancelot, Dark Knight of the Underworld can attack directly. And it even comes with a negate to help you get that attack through. As for a silly tech pick, well, I do love a good bookend. Y'all might roast me for this, but they're already part of the team spiritually. I'm talking about Shaddolls, baby! Look, with all the different attributes of normal monsters we can play, we can tech in whichever fusions we want, and it lets us utilize one of the best foolish burials in the game, Shaddol Fusion, getting most of those normal monsters into the grave to combo with Grandpa Demeto. Heck, if we throw enough into the graveyard, we may even want to consider tossing in Dragon's Mirror for better access to First of the Dragons. And that's all I've got to say about doll monsters. They're a quaint little bundle of cards, and I don't ever expect them to be incredibly powerful, but fun little archetypes like this are a breath of fresh air that you can play while between some of the game's most intensive brews. Not to mention, they're an amazing space for imagining different card synergies and what you can accomplish with them. It's like a playground of mechanics, and I'm having a blast, especially when it shows off the kinds of things normal monsters are still capable of in this game. Sorry, vanilla haters, but we actually get flavor text. So between that and the super powered effects that you all have, who do you think is the real winner? Just don't look at any big tournament reports, please. But now, I want to hear what you all have to say. Are doll monsters an archetype not meant to be toyed with, or do they need a few stitches before we bring them out to play again? And which one's your favorite? And are there any doll monsters you hope get released in the future? Let me know down below, and if you haven't already, please be sure to like the video if you liked it, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and be sure to share this video with somebody you know who loves Yu-Gi-Oh! It really does a lot to help me out. Today's episode is brought to you by Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales and get 5% off your order by using the coupon code GoldenNova at checkout. It was also brought to you by my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commanders, Upstairs Media, and Natiel Lee Alexander, Nebula Navigators 3rd Dynasty, 50 Gigabytes, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajdel, Ancient Wizard, Andrew Newman, Battle Axe, Kane Senpai, Chibi Gohan, Christopher Fuss, Clockswork, Comrade Cobblebottom, Eric, Frankie, Garland Chaos, Going It/Its for the Bit/Bits, Great Big Pillock, Hair Bear, Happy Majin, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Iron Zero, Iskander 711, Carp, Marion James E. Picata, Millennia Asta, Muse Clark, Neon Yaminair, Orozco 09096, Panther J, Pat Poos, Rank 10 Trains, Rebel King Lucifer, Red Eyes Jackalow, RJ the Jank Monarch, The Critic of Innocence, Thievery Coast and the Wizard Moose, Cosmic Crusaders Animasta, Baden Von Titty Sprinkles, Beelzephyr, Fish, Beluga Master, Blitzwolf, Caesar M, Chaz Ghost, Dr. Reaper RIP, Eva Padilla, Hike Boyagian, Herbal D, Ignis Heat the True Draco Slayer, Inblink, Kale the Dragon, Lobomaru 02, Manga Pages, Matt Simmons, McSpoofy, Mike, Nitromo, Not Al Gore, Nyx, Obsidian, Rainer Leong, Rhyme Kairos, Shizuki Nijimura, Sir Knight JCB, Sophie, apparently, Stephen Williamson, The Legendary Raven, The Phantom Knights of Shitted Pants, The Gene, Tiger X2476, Weasel King of Weaseltown, and Zaldreka, as well as the wonderful Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you'd like to help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, get my videos early, be a part of these credits and other awesome perks, it would mean the world to me if you would check out the link to my Patreon in the description or consider joining as a YouTube member. And if you'd like to see another deck that loves its normal monsters, check out this video where I cover one of the coolest link spam decks out there, World Chalice. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.